All right, Legend Anthology is here in Master Duel. It's February 17th, 2023. And if you're like me, you're looking for the free-to-play, cheapest option for this event. You don't want to invest heavily with your ultra rare, super rare points or your gems. And for me, Salamangreat was the easiest option. Now, it's not the best deck by far, so disclaimer, don't expect like a 90% win rate like you maybe saw with Crusadia if you watched my previous video on the last event, but it's good enough. When the event dropped at around 11 p.m. Thursday, February 16th, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, I was able to get through all like 5,500 medals, winning most of my matches in about 2-3 hours. So it was pretty effective. And like I said, pretty much everything that's worth points in this deck, anything that's ultra rare or super rare, is more or less coming in the structure deck, aside from a couple staples, and I'll go over those in a second. You might have to invest a little bit for the extra deck, but that's about it. And most of the things that you would normally use in other decks are translatable to this deck if it's not banned. So in the Crusadia video that I made, for example, obviously like Maxi and Ash Blossom were legal for that last event, and you probably should have those crafted already. So it's not really like you're spending points to craft them because you should have them already. So in this deck, I'll go over some of the things that are, I guess you could say optional, but you really should be playing them. DD Crows, super rares. I have 2 of those in the deck, and Effect Veiler, if you can play 3, that would be ideal. But I just had 2 crafted from before, and I just threw them both in this deck. So these are obviously the things that don't come in the structure deck, but they are very useful for this event because of all the limitations of other hand traps and other power cards like Baron and Appaloosa and stuff. Having some form of disruption, especially in these 2 cards, is very powerful. Like if you play against Dark Magicians, for example, could you imagine just DD Crowing the Dark Magician that they attempt to special summon with the Magician's Souls, right? Like there's a lot of disruption and shutdowns that you can do with these cards. So it's very worth having them. And like I said, they're translatable to other decks, so definitely worth playing. The Lava Golems, I made them for Sprite, not Runic Sprite, but just for Sprite in general. And I just threw them in this deck because one of the things that Salamangreats will struggle with is like untargetable or indestructible tower monsters, because access code won't be able to out them. So just having a Lava Golem available to just tribute off, you might have to just pass your turn if you can't play around the limitation of not normal summoning, but at least it outs their tower monster, and then you can usually follow up next turn if you survive for a strong closeout play. But that was the one thing that I saw was consistently struggling, that I was consistently struggling with, is that when I did run into those towers, I didn't really have a decent out to it. So I just decided to throw some Lava Golems in there. Now, as for the actual deck core, you got your Mole, your Bufferlo. You can play Reclusia in this deck. So again, this is a Crusadia monster, but because it's fire, it can synergize decently well with the Mirage Stalio, because Mirage Stalio states that when you use this effect, you can't activate other monsters' effects except fire monsters for the rest of the turn. Keep in mind, though, that this isn't a Cyberse monster, so that means that if you use this special summon, you cannot use your transcode talker later on in the turn, so don't even bother summoning the transcode. But this is good spot removal. You can special summon this to a zone a link monster points to, sack itself, and target a destruction on your opponent's side. Good for clearing back row or monsters, etc. that are able to be destroyed. You got 3 Foxy. Now, Gazelle, Spinny, and Lady Debug are all limited in this event. So these are a little unfortunate because these are pretty powerful cards to play, especially the Gazelle and the Spinny. But with a little bit of maneuvering, you can kind of make up for the fact that you're not playing as many Salamangreats. And so one of the alternative solutions is playing an extra Jack Jaguar. You can get away with 2 still, but I opted to go for 3. I am now playing an extra Foul, so I'm playing 2 here. And the other thing that's really nice that wasn't around back when Salamangreat was kind of more popular, but obviously is a newer addition to the game, is the Mathmech card. So Mathmech Addition and Subtraction are both Cyberse and Fire monsters. So you can play more copies of these if you don't want to play like the Lava Golems or the Effect Veiler and DD Crows. Again, you will struggle a little bit more with Disruption because obviously your opponent's going to be able to go full combo and you won't have any disruption. But you will have a lot of follow-up, and it helps to increase your consistency with the deck, right? Because you want, the whole point of Salamangreat is you want to summon monsters on the field. You want to be able to link climb and get out your boss monsters. And Mathmechs do that because they're free special summons essentially, and they don't disrupt anything. You can use them with the transcode. You can use them with the other Salamangreats because they require fire effect. And you can use them under Mirage Stalio. So they're perfect complementary synergistic cards to use with the deck. Now, aside from that, you also have your Signet Mining and your Circle Limited. So again, these are all expensive cards that come free in the structure deck. I think it's called Burning Spirits. So again, you don't have to craft anything, but these being limited again hurts the consistency. So you need to up the amount of Salamangrates that you're playing or Fire Cybers monsters that you're playing in order to maintain some consistency with the deck. But these are staples. You can use your Regeki, your Duster, and your Monster Reborn. You can play 2 Wills instead of a Monster Reborn, but Monster Reborn just gives you a little bit of extra utility in being able to, well, first of all, use it in conjunction with the Will. So if you somehow get your Gazelle out, you dump Will, and you bring it back with the Wolf, you can use Will, and then you can use Monster Reborn. It's very situational, obviously, to have all those cards at once. But Monster Reborn, the reason I'm playing it over a second Will is because you can reborn stuff from your opponent's graveyard as well, right? With Blue Eyes and Dark Magician being semi-popular in this event, being able to bring those back gives you a big, strong attack power monster on your side of the field that you can just kind of run over your opponent's monsters with as well. So that's my line that I'm opting to play. Don't know why I'm really playing Space Typhoon. You can play Twin Twisters if you want, but Cyclone is banned. But again, there's not really too many traps you have to worry about that if it goes to the graveyard, you trigger their effects, or they can banish it from the graveyard to trigger an effect. So MST is generally going to be okay in this regard. It's good spot removal. It's good setting first turn to disrupt the opponent's play on their turn, especially for Dark Magician, right? If you get the circle off the field or the set Eternal Soul before they can kind of get their their combo rolling. So it's very effective in that regard. As for the traps, you can make a case to play more Rage. I don't know really what you would want to cut though, because you can see here I'm already over my 40 limit. You usually don't want to play over 40, but I'm opting to play the 3 Lava Golem, which is why I'm up to 41. But even if you weren't playing Lava Golems, you can maybe go with more Rage. This is very effective in this event because, turn 1, setting the Rage or being able to set the Rage. Again, if you can dump it with the Gazelle somehow and get it back with the Sunlight Wolf, or you just hard draw it, again, if you're playing more copies, it can be really good at disrupting your opponent. Because Effect Negation, while it is really good, obviously still, I think you might get more utility in this event with the targeted destruction. Because when you think about it, like I know I keep going back to Dark Magician, but like they play the Dark Magical Circle, right? You're worried about them special summoning a Dark Magician to their field and getting that spot banish. If you Salamangrate Rage, you can take out 2 cards, including the Circle, and that's like almost better than a Negate, right? Because Negate only gets rid of 1 thing. And with the Rage, you're usually going to have Sunlight Wolf summoned with itself on the field when you end your turn. So having this on your turn 1 setup can be really strong in disrupting your opponent. Obviously, it can take out monsters and stuff as well. And then just the 1 Imperm, because it's Imperm. It's like the best card in the game, probably. But everything else is banned. Like no Lightning Storm, Called By, Cross Out, etc. So nothing much more you can really do there. The list is fairly basic, and you can get by with it essentially being free to play. Now, as for the extra deck, the Balinks you get in the structure deck, same with the Wolf, which is limited to 2. Unfortunate, because this is really the heart and soul of the deck. This is your card advantage, your resource management. When something is special summoned to the zone that it points to, you get a monster back from your graveyard, a fire monster. And then if you summon it with itself, you can just trigger the effect to bring back a Salamangrate spell or trap. So you can bring back Will, you can bring back Rage, you can bring back Roar, you can bring back Circle. It's very, very effective in that regard. And you can even bring back your field spell if it gets destroyed and sent to the graveyard. So you have to be very mindful that Wolf is your core engine, and wherever you can, you probably want to recycle it with the Jack Jaguar. So if you summon Wolf with itself, and then the second Wolf is, or you have one of your Wolves in your graveyard and one of them on your field, if Jack Jaguar is in your graveyard, activate the effect, return the 1 Wolf in your graveyard back to the extra deck, special summon Jack to the zone that this Wolf on your field points to. That way, you're going to be able to trigger the Wolf on your field, get another fire monster back from your graveyard. You have the Jack on the field from the graveyard, and then you have your Sunlight Wolf back in your extra deck for follow-up next turn if you need it. So just be wary of your resource management. You want to avoid these getting banished pretty much at all costs, but it doesn't mean it's game over if it does. It just makes your life a little bit harder. Playing some of the Code Talkers, just extra Cyberse fodder to summon out. This, I think you get for free in a structure deck at the beginning of the game. I could be wrong. Yeah, initial structure deck, Link Generation. So this is free. You don't have to worry about crafting. This is just a rare. You don't need to play the Lingaribo. This is just an extra Link 1 summon. I've never really used it or summoned it yet. This Cyberse Reminder is just another Cyberse Link, Xyz rank 3. And the reason that these 2 are important, you could play 2 Mirage Stalio, but the reason that these are nice is because you only have one Spinny. If it's sent to the graveyard and you special summon it back, as soon as it leaves the field, it's getting banished. That means you have no more Spinny for the rest of the duel. But if you can bring the Spinny back and you have like another level 3, like a Foxy or a Gazelle or something, or even a Buffalo, you can make one of these Xyz monsters. And then if you detach the Spinny, it's going to go to the graveyard and it doesn't get banished, which means you can now use Spinny follow-up on next turn to special summon it back. And you can just kind of recur it that way. So out of the extra deck, yeah, all of these are pretty much free. The Heat Leo is free. The only things you have to craft, I would say, is Mirage Stalio, Transcode, so that's about 60 super rare points, and the Access Code Talker, which is ultra rare. But again, Access Code, if you know what this card is, you should already have it. It's like one of the best link monsters in the game, so it's not just for Salamangrates. You craft this thing, it's not just for this deck. You're going to use it in many other decks, so I don't really look at that as you have to spend points specifically for this deck. But it is something you want to have in general for other decks as well. So really, it's just Mirage Stalio and Transcode Talker. This deck, I would say, costs 60 super rare points at most if you want to do a really bare, stripped down version. And then, you know, add whatever other utility cards you have already at your disposal that aren't banned into the deck to kind of make up the difference. You can play this very, very cheaply, and it's very effective. I think my win rate was around, I want to say like 65, 70%. So not the best, but not the worst either, right? And like I said, I was able to get through the event and get all the gems within like 3 hours, with less than 3 hours. So pretty effective. I'm opting to play an alternative boss monster in the Topologic Bomber Dragon. So if my access code for somehow gets stopped or doesn't win me the game, if it gets outed, I do have another option in the Bomber Dragon. So again, if you build this deck, you're building it because you already purchased the Burning Spirit structure deck many weeks, months ago. If you haven't purchased the Burning Spirit structure deck, you may not want to play this because it's not the most effective deck. I think Marincess and Dark Magician are a little bit more effective and a little bit more consistent. Obviously, Dark Magician with the new structure deck that came out. So those are better options in my opinion. But hey, we're budget, right? So you get through the event, you get your gems for free, and then you can build what really matters. Usually in this case, right, I spent all my gems on that Sprite and Runic before. So, you know, I'm looking to build stuff that's competitive, not necessarily for specific events. But this will get you through the Anthology event, no problem. So let me know what you're doing for the Anthology event. If you've tried this deck, let me know as well. There are other variations you can play. There's versions like you can go the Code Talker route, like playing more Code Talkers and playing the Counter Trap for Code Talkers, which I think I'll maybe put up in a video somewhere, but that can be effective as well. So yeah, try out a few things, see what works, and let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching though, guys. Quantum is out.